Welcome to Kevin Deal Photography, where I take you on my journey through photography. On today's episode, we're going to take a deep dive into Evoto. Welcome to today's episode. If you're not familiar with Kevin Deal Photography, we do gear reviews, tips, techniques, and tutorials, and sometimes we dive into film. If any of that sounds appealing to you, click the subscribe button below. As a portrait photographer, editing takes up a significant portion of my time. But with a growing photography business and this channel, time is becoming my most valuable commodity. Enter AI, the latest buzzword in the photography world. Many companies throw it around for marketing, but to me, AI means one thing: time. Can it save me time by doing tasks just as well as I can do those tasks? I've already embraced AI in other areas of my work, like pre-programming routes for my drone and then having it fly and take cinematic-like shots that look like I hired a helicopter and a professional cameraman. I can't do that myself. AI does it better. With photography editing, though, I've been resistant to change. I've reviewed batch editing AI software in the past on this channel with good results, but that's just editing basics like exposure, white balance, and basic color grading. Advanced editing like deep retouching and cleaning up fabrics just wasn't there. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sold on the early versions of Evoto. I remember going to their booth a couple years ago at WPPI, taking a look at it, and the modules just weren't there, especially on the retouching side. Shortly after that, Evoto reached out to me for a review, but at the time I didn't feel comfortable because I wasn't excited about it. However, their engineers clearly put in some serious work, and a year later, my good friend and neighbor, Vanessa Joy, started praising the software for how much time it saved her. That brought Evoto back onto my radar. When they recently reached out to me again to see if I'd be interested in doing a review, I figured, why not? I've got nothing to lose. So, in this video, I'm putting Evoto AI to the test. I'm comparing my real-world editing speed and quality against AI to see if, 1, does it save me time, and 2, is the final result good or better than what I can produce? As someone experienced in Photoshop, I've got a good benchmark for comparison. I feel like I can say without any ego, my speed and skills are higher than average. If Evoto AI outshines me, I'll admit it, because I want it to save me hours of post-production. My 4 biggest editing time drains are: 1, backdrops. Studio backdrops are super expensive, so I reuse them. They get dirty, and then I end up costing myself hours of editing. Another thing, stray hair removal. Stray hairs against clean backdrops aren't hard, but still take a lot of time to edit. Against busy backdrops with bokeh, I'm not the best at editing those, and it takes me a lot of time. Skin retouching. If you've ever done beauty retouching, I shouldn't have to explain this to you. It takes a lot of time. And then the final thing that sucks my time is clothing wrinkles. Even with years of experience, fixing fabrics is a huge task for me, and it takes up an insane amount of my time. So let's dive in and find out if Evoto AI can actually automate time-consuming tasks for photographers like us.
All right, so let's start with our first example. Approaching this as a post-production retoucher, photographer. Of course, we want to adjust our levels first, our colors, all that fun stuff. There's not a lot I want to do to this photo. I just kind of want to raise the shadows maybe a little bit. And then I want to maybe pull the shadows blue a little, like that. That's about what I want. Going for kind of a unique filmish type of look. And so now let's move on to the backdrop. Click on here. Let's zoom in, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of scuffing, and the stilettos even punctured the backdrop in a couple places. So to normally clean this up, it would take me 10 minutes or so, especially when I pull this distracting part into the mix to clean all that up. This can be done with content aware fill in Photoshop, but they have a cool module, distractions removal. You click on that and it goes away. Scroll in right here and you still see the scuffs and all that. And so that would be clean backdrop. So you click on that and the backdrop cleans. Now that's really clean and probably a little more clean than I'd want it to be. It doesn't look realistic. So you have a module to control how dirty or how clean the bottom of the backdrop is, and then also the back part of the backdrop. So I'm gonna put the ground up to about 75% or so, and then I'll put the background to about 50. And then the only thing I see as I zoom in is there's just a couple of little small spots. And for those of you who are used to Photoshop, if you click on this healing tool or just hit J, you have a healing tool, you have a patch tool, and then you have a clone stamp. So we're just gonna use the healing tool. And of course you can adjust the size of the brush. I want to go ahead and make some adjustments to Victoria right here. Now, she's got a little bit of shine on her face, so I'm going to go over here to my portrait retouching module. I'm going to scroll up to the top, and I'm going to go to reduce face shine. So as I move this slider over to the right, you see that her face has a little less shine to it. And then you still have this smile line up here. If you want to reduce that, you just take this smile line slider and move it over to the right. I'm not going to adjust her hair because I was blowing her with an industrial fan here. So we'll just leave that as is. That looks pretty cool to me. However, I have to edit more than just this one photo of her. So what's cool about this is I can save a preset. And as I save that preset, I'm going to call it Victoria's Face. And I already have a group called Kevin. And then I can check and uncheck here. I don't want to have the background adjustments there. I don't think I want the color adjustments there because there might be some color shifts. Or AI color adjustments because I didn't do any. So we're just gonna do the portrait retouching and hit save, okay? So now I'm gonna go over to a different shot of Victoria and same person, same lighting setup, different outfit. So as I recall Victoria's face, you'll see, boom, the shine goes away. We applied the shine removal and the smile line reduction because it remembered, oh, you like this setting on her. And so if I work with her again in the future, I can use that preset and it's always going to reduce that and save me a bunch of time. Once again, we've got ourselves a backdrop. It's the exact same backdrop we had and you can see all the scuff marks. So once again, let's go over to our backdrop. We will go to distractions removal and we will also go to clean backdrop. And I'm gonna reduce it once again. And something else to keep in mind, because I know a lot of you who are watching this are professional retouchers, is one of the things that occurs when you have backdrops like this is color banding. So I'm gonna reduce, have a little bit of texture in this backdrop. But if you do see color banding forming, you can just go over here to this color banding removal. But that's not the real reason why I want to show you this particular image. The reason I want to show you this particular image is because something that I'm not very good at and something that takes me a ton of time is removing wrinkles in clothing. So as you can see here, there's wrinkles in this clothing. If you go over to this close icon and you zoom in, and we can turn this all the way up just to see what it does, and it will remove, it takes a second because it has to process it, but it will remove all the wrinkles. So there you go, the wrinkles are gone. You may not want it to be that extreme. So you have fine wrinkles and you have deep wrinkles. So if I just want to maybe keep the bigger wrinkles in there, so the big wrinkles are there, but the smaller wrinkles are gone. Now I'd probably have this at about 50. Okay. And then up here, I kind of liked the texture of this. So if you go over to this pencil icon, a mask will appear and you have a positive and you have a negative. and I actually want to maintain all the wrinkles. So I'm erasing this mask where I want the wrinkles to remain. Pretty simple. Now I hit OK. And something else that I should bring up as you use this program that's super important is when you are editing, if you want to see the before and after, all you have to do is hit the space bar. You hold the space bar down. That's what it looked like before. That's what it looks like now. Pretty straightforward. Now, one last comment I want to make about the backdrop is look at how well it maintained the shadow. In Photoshop, when I do content aware fill and I extend backdrops out, that right there takes me a lot of time. And if you think about how quickly I took all those marks out of the backdrop, if somebody hires you to take 10 pictures of them like this, as far as your deliverables are concerned, let's say it takes you 10 minutes per backdrop. That's 100 minutes of work that I did in probably less than a minute, all 10 combined, right? I mean, it was pretty fast to get those backdrops dialed in. So when Evoto, as far as I've seen, they say that it saves you about 10 times the amount of work. When it comes to backdrops, I would say that that is absolutely true. This is going to save me a ton of time. And if I had 100 minutes at the end of the day to do other things, man, I could market myself more. I could go out and find more business. I could just like look at cat videos on my phone. So just think about how much time this saves you. That's the point of this video, is how are these AI modules saving you time? Okay, so moving on to the next thing, I'm going to show you how the AI color look works. So this is a pretty cool feature that you can upload stuff. So here's a Jack Bridgeland, kind of a punk rock look. And we're going to try that out. And that looks pretty cool right off the bat. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to expand my backdrop out, get rid of these distractions up here. And yeah, this looks weird. It looks odd, but that's what I'm going for here, okay? Once again, you can hit spacebar. That's what we started with, and that's what we have. That's a very different look. So now let's work on some other aspects of this. So as I look at this, obviously I need to do some quick skin retouching. And before I do that, actually, I want to make a couple adjustments to the midtones. Yeah, more like... There we go. Since we're getting really imaginative with colors, I like that. So we're having fun. Now I'm just going to do a quick skin retouch. I'll do the freckles and the acne, have it zap some of that out. She's got a lot of shine, so we're going to reduce the face shine a little bit. There we go. That might be a little too much. I kind of like the way that looks, but that's a cool feature. That's the AI color match feature. The other thing I want to show you is you've got these glasses that have a lot of shine on them, and that's actually something that you can remove. So remove glasses glare, you turn that all the way to the right, and it'll go away. Personally, I like the glasses. I think they make this pop, but I wanted to make sure you knew that that existed and that that was a module inside Evoto. The next example, let's get into the meat of this program, and that is retouching. As you can see right here, this is a very, very intimate portrait. You can see everything, right? Okay, so I do everything by hand. Something like this would probably take me 2 hours to do a good retouch on, okay? There's a lot going on here. So let's zoom in and let's go over to Freckles and Acne, and let's pull it all the way up just to see what it does. Okay, yeah, it gets rid of a lot of it, but I kind of want to make those freckles come back. And it didn't do a very good job of maintaining her freckles. So we're going to do what we did earlier. We're going to go in and we're going to have this pop up. This is our manual tuning, as they call it. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw her freckles back in, like the places where they're very prominent. So like really around her nose, they're very prominent. She has a couple freckles up here that definitely stick out, and we're just bringing those back. So nothing wrong with that. That's what we want to do. We want her to look like a human being and not have an uncanny valley version of her. We don't want her to look like a robot. So now when we hit OK, look, her freckles are back. She has dark circles, so let's get rid of those. You move this slider over to the right, and look, those dark circles, eye bags, all of it goes away. That looks pretty sharp. Now we're going to get rid of her smile line, which you see right here, or at least tamper it down a little bit. There we go. She still looks like a human being. In all honesty, this is almost as far as I would take this outside of some macro dodging and burning. So here's the even dodge and burn. I'm going to pull it all the way to the right so you can see what it does. It's taking the very large parts of her skin where it's lighter and it's darker, and it averages them out, and that's cool, but that's very extreme. So I would probably take her dodge and burn to about right here, and then I would finish the rest of this by hand, but I'm going to show you what it does if you don't want to do all these little things by hand. Nonetheless, this will save me a lot of time. Already to this point, I probably saved myself about 25 or 30 minutes on this 2-hour retouch. And I'm not going to do the full retouch because you probably have other things to do today. But just to show you, you've got your sculpt, dodge and burn. You'll kind of see a vignette go around. It creates a little bit of shape on her face. You have textured smoothing, which I don't particularly use a lot of textured smoothing. You have skin softening. That is, of course, very extreme right there. Some people like that look. I think that looks fake. I think that looks uncanny valley, so I wouldn't go that far. And then the thing that is the fakest of them all, and that is frequency separation. I actually don't use frequency separation, but a lot of people do. So if you do use frequency separation, here is your frequency separation sliders. So you've got that here. You can do whatever you want to do as far as frequency separation is concerned. To get in on these little smaller parts, if you come over from the world of Photoshop, you have the ability to go in and you can spot heal these things, or you can go in with your clone stamp and they have a lighten and a darken. So if you want to do like a darken pass, you get your brush size the way you want it to. So just like in Photoshop, you use the option key to dip and then fill. Dip and fill. So you can fill in the smaller parts just like that. If you want to do micro dodging and burning, you can do that in here. It is totally doable. Okay, so before and after, we've made quite a bit of progress with this. The only other thing I might do to this, honestly, is maybe adjust the eyes, make them a little bit brighter. And also, you can take the veins out, and it's not just looking for veins in color, it's looking for veins in black and white. So if I go over here to vein removal, there you go, the veins get taken out. And she still looks kind of natural in this. I would probably just do a little bit of work on the forehead, but that's a pretty easy retouch. There is one other thing I want to show you, and here's the hair part line. So if you look up at her hair, it'll kind of take this part right here and it'll fill it in. So some people want to fill that in, and you can fill that in. I'll show you a little bit more about the stray hairs because I have a better example in this later. But this is a pretty close to done retouch, and it only took us a few minutes. I have probably about 20 more minutes of micro dodging and burning, but that cut about an hour and 15 minutes off of this. That's pretty awesome. Moving on, I want to show you another feature. So when I look at this shot, I took this shot with a 135mm lens. I really like it. I like how I froze the water kind of midstream, but the one thing I don't like about it is her eyes just aren't punching hard enough. So let's scroll up to the eyes. So we're at 100%. And what I want to see here is I want to see her eyes pop. So we're going to go back up to that module we were just at where we brighten the eyes. So we're going to brighten the eyes. We're going to remove the veins out of there once again. But the one thing that is awesome about this program is we're gonna put a catchlight in her eyes because I didn't get one. You can see catchlights in the water, but you can't see catchlights in her eyes, or at the very least, they're pretty weak. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna kind of look and see which catchlight looks the best. I think this one looks the best, and you can actually move these catchlights around. So I'm gonna move this catchlight to about right here. I'm gonna make it really prominent. There we go. And then when I zoom out of this, so now her eyes are popping a bit more, and I think that's a more captivating photo. Okay, so now we're moving on to this portrait of this really beautiful, mature lady. We call them seniors. And of course, we retouchers have a little bit more work to do on the face. We look over here, neck wrinkles, right? Okay, let's get rid of some neck wrinkles. There we go. The neck wrinkles are tame. You can of course, annihilate them if you want to. That looks fake, but you can do it if you want to. We can, of course, go in and adjust the freckles and the acne like we normally do. So once again, you can always hit spacebar And yeah, that looks pretty good. Now we're gonna, of course, take care of some of those eye wrinkles. We're gonna get rid of the eye bags. There we go. We're going to scroll on down to the eyes because she does have some veins and I want to make them a little bit, just a little bit brighter right about there. I have a pretty good Catchlight, so I don't think we need to do much there, but let's zoom in so you can see the vein removal happen. There it is. Zoom out. Of course, she also, let's scroll up and take care of the smile line. So she does have a bit of a smile line. We're going to tame that a bit. There we go. And the Catchlight, I think, looks great. I don't want to mess with that. And of course, the glaring issue here is the hair. So let's take care of the hair. We're going to scroll on down here to remove stray hairs. When I go 100%, it's going to look a little on the fake side, but I just wanted to show you the extremes of this. It's actually not that bad. I'd still probably pull it back to like, I don't know, 75-ish. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, I'm gonna go up a little higher on this because I want to show you something else. See, here in the South, because I'm in Texas, we like to have our hair get poofy. So we're gonna mess with the volume. So top hair volume, you can make her look like she's from the 60s. And the part line, you can mess with the part line as well. You can darken it, you can lighten it, whatever. But you can also do the side volume like that. So I actually think that looks pretty cool. So where did we start? We started with this and we ended with that. And she looks very beautiful. She still looks age appropriate. So I don't think we overdid this too badly. So I'm going to put this fabric backdrop behind her and you're going to go, whoa, that's really extreme. And you're right, it is. But that's what this opacity is for. So if you just take this opacity and you move it to about right there, that looks pretty realistic. And of course you have edge adjustment. So yeah, that's how you change the backdrop out, and you have other options. So you could put her in front of a blue like this. And then once again, you get out of here and you adjust the opacity down or whatever, and you're good to go. So one last edit I want to show you. There's a sky replacement as well. So let's go to sky replacement. Let's go to sunrise and sunset. Let's choose this first one and see what happens. Now that I'm in the sky replacement, let's see what happens if I mess with the vertical. That looks awesome. As a matter of fact, when I hit spacebar, look, that's pretty much where the sun is in the picture. So that's great. Problem is it's very sharp and in focus, and I'm at f2.8 and I'm pretty close. So I do need to make that more blurry to blend into my background. So let's go to sky blur. Let's take this to about, I don't know, 17. Let's see what that looks like. That's about right. I think I'm going to take it to 20. Yeah, that blends in okay. Now I need to blend in with the rest. When you look at it, look, it puts that kind of orangish glow in the reflections, which is great. One way, of course, you can take that further and make it look really authentic is you can move this match sky over to the right, and it just kind of, everything looks like it blends together a little better. You can do the same thing with the human. So just like that. And now this picture, it looks definitely more realistic than it did. So that's pretty cool, but let's talk about my thoughts on this program. Let's talk about if I think it's worth it. I'll talk about the things that I really loved about it, and then the things I want to see them improve upon in future releases. After extensive use of Evoto, I can confidently say the program includes several modules that significantly save time while providing enough manual control to maintain and fine-tune my unique artistic editing style. Here's where I plan to heavily use this program. 1. Backdrop cleaning. Evoto cleans backdrops about 10 times faster than I do, and it does it just as well as I do. It's probably saving me 5 to 10 minutes per image versus Photoshop. That's easy to measure. 2. Backdrop changes. I love how quickly I can change backdrops, and the option to import my own backdrops is a huge plus. Number 3. Background distraction removal. It removes most distractions faster than I can, and it sometimes handles shadows better than Photoshop while maintaining a natural look. Even when I run into a backdrop that won't cooperate in Evoto, it has tools like Patch and Clone Stamp that allow me to fix the backdrop just like I would in Photoshop. Number 4, hair cleanup. Evoto handles stray hair cleanup efficiently, and for busy backgrounds with bokeh, it's actually better than I am.
Number 5, clothing wrinkles. When it comes to clothing with complex patterns, Evoto excels where I struggle. It's one area where the program is unquestionably better than I am. And then number 6, skin retouching. The skin retouching tools have improved significantly. I find Evoto is most powerful when you have a good balance between using those AI modules and then pair it up with those familiar Photoshop tools like Clone, Stamp, and Spot Heal. The former takes care of automating those busy work tasks like cleaning acne and mellowing wrinkles, where the latter is where you can fine-tune an image with micro dodging and burning and really imparting how you want to subjectively edit skin. While Evoto did impress me in many ways, I do have a couple of suggestions for the developers. Number 1, file size limitations. There's a 1 GB file size limit, which could be a problem for some commercial projects. I shoot on a 100 megapixel Fuji GFX 100S, and sometimes when I get into the weeds on a commercial project, I end up producing some pretty large TIFF files that I kick around between programs while editing. Evoto is marketing itself toward the working professional, so I'd like to see increased file size support in future versions. Number 2, round trip workflow. This is the big one. For users of Capture One or Lightroom, there needs to be a round trip workflow. Right now, you can right-click a file in your RAW editor and send it to Evoto. That's great, but once you're done editing, there's no option to send it back to your RAW editor. You have to export it to a folder, then manually re-import it. If Evoto's goal is to save time, this improvement would extend that efficiency to workflows tied to RAW editors. Both Capture One and Lightroom already have round-trip compatibility with Photoshop, so it's not uncharted territory. I recognize this requires tying in the spending of credits to an export, but given how advanced Evoto already is, I believe their programmers can figure that out. Number 3, if you guys really want this program to be a great benefit to photographers, offer it up as a plugin within Photoshop. Programs like Luminar Neo and Topaz have already been doing this for years. And now to the question on everybody's mind, cost. Evoto is actually a free program and you can edit an unlimited amount of photos and it won't cost you a thing. The only thing you actually do pay for is your exports. Much like you would with a professional retoucher, you pay per image. The costs though are very reasonable at 5 cents to up to 25 cents per image, depending on the plan that you choose. So when you compare it to what you'd pay for a retoucher and when you consider the amount of time that it saves you, on average for me, it would save me a half a day's worth of work. The costs to me are pretty reasonable. Another example, let's say you're booked to shoot a wedding and you promise 300 deliverable digital files. On the cheapest plan, it would run you $15 to export 300 files, and on the most expensive plan, it cost you $75, a fraction of what you're hopefully charging for that wedding. But if you do have a difficult client and they make you go back and re-edit some of the photos, your credits are tied to that file. So if you find yourself having to re-export a re-edit or export that same file out at a different resolution for something like a wedding album, it doesn't count against your credits. So in summary, yes, I do plan to use Evoto in my work moving forward. And in the interest of time, I did run out of time to show you some of the other features it has. So they have a library of their own presets you can try. They have cool features like tethered shooting and a bunch of other useful modules included in the program. So definitely check that out. And while it was cool for Evoto to reach out to me to do this video, it would be a lot cooler if all of you got something out of this for sticking out to the end. So if you decide you like Evoto, you can use the code Kevin1 to get 15% off. So definitely take advantage of that. And they also do give you some free credits. So check that out. That does it for today's episode. If you like what you saw, tell me about it in the comments below. Are there any improvements that you can see that you want to talk to the Evoto engineers about? Put it in the comments below. And if you like this channel, I humbly ask you to click the subscribe button below. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.